Those who do not know me, my name is Sahami Pinard. I am the owner and founder of Awareness LLC, or Awareness Mental Health is Wealth, strictly for the goal of educating Black communities about mental health and destigmatizing the topic amongst us. A lot of us, a lot of us have dealt with mental health issues within our families, within ourselves, friends, just different places. And we aren't getting the help that we need because we've been taught to keep it in the family. Black people don't go to therapy. Black people don't go on medication for mental health. And the whole time you are suffering in silence. So I wanted to eliminate that by normalizing the conversation within our communities and showing people that, one, they're not alone. Two, you're not quote unquote crazy because you have a mental health issue. And three, there are people waiting to help. Very, very proud and happy that I have men like Frigi and Darnell who I can collaborate with like on topics like this so that men can see that I'm not the only one, women can see I'm not the only one, and we can heal as a community as well as individuals. I'll start with you, Frigi. I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, how long you've been in the field.
All right, so Frigi Talisma. So I work as a psychotherapist at a clinic in Brooklyn. I'm also a clinical trainer. So I work on the corporate office of a large organization, training their staff. The organization has things from schools, shelters, outpatient services, clinics, just a wide array of programs. So I work in their corporate office as one of their trainers. I'm a clinical trainer for the organization. I've been in the field for, I be forgetting. Sometimes I think about this, like, wow, how long I've been doing this? So I've been doing this role just by itself for about maybe 4 or 5 years, just about 4 years, right? Maybe more than that. I mean, I think the time kind of elapsed with COVID and everything. But before that, I used to work for the Department of Homeless Services, right? So I worked in the shelter system for a few years. Before that, I worked in the foster care system for about 8, 9 years. Before that, I was a high school teacher. So worked in a lot of different arenas with a lot of I worked with a lot of young people and families, but that's been like my experience. So that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. So why mental health? Why did you get into the field?
So yeah, so you wasn't going to just go to the next.
No, we're gonna continue with you.
Why mental health? I just, personally through my journey, I just believe like the greatest asset and the tool we have is our mind, right? So the more we can have control over the mind, I feel like the more people we can help. So I feel like it was people that came in my life that helped me in becoming who I am today. So this was one of my ways of giving back. I think culturally within my family dynamic, a lot of people were in like human services field. So I gravitated to like psychology. And I think one thing led to another, right? So I went to the school system. That's from like being around people. I got introduced to the education system. I was there while working in the school system. I realized there was a lot of stuff going on within the family system. So I was very intrigued because I was like a high school teacher and I was a really young high school teacher. And I was just trying to get to those boys. And I was just noticing that there was just more going on, and working in a system like the school, I realized I was limited. And I would meet with families. I just learned so much. So that, kind of anchored me to transition or be interested in the child welfare system. Right. And through there, met mentors, met people, kind of explored. I went back to school and then translated from that to working in Department of Homeless Services with families on another level. I was doing more macro level work, a lot of group work. I did a lot of men's groups in the shelter systems. And I realized I was like one of the only people doing that, and this is a networking game, kind of got connected and kind of fell into the world that I am in now. This was kind of like, I got connected into this role because this is another corporate macro level role. And, again, mentorship, guidance, and also there was opportunity because there was not much Black males doing certain types of things. So it opened up the door for me and I was just interested, right? And I kind of pursued it further and, here I am. So my mental health journey has been a culmination of one to give back, one to help, also help myself, right? Because we are our first client, right? So, when you go through poverty, you come from certain type of circumstances, you want to figure out how to get out of that. And the inner work is one of the, the most amount of work you can do. And then it's about getting into the community. And I realized there was so limited amount of people of color or males of color doing certain things. And there was also, I realized the impact that I had. So I worked around a lot of young men, and I realized I was like a role model. I could remember a quick story. I was working in the school system, and there was a kid that got left back a few times. So he was older than most of the kids. And he was one of those like kids that people kind of pawned to the side. And I kind of took an interest in him. And I remember one day being in the classroom, I was in an English language art classroom, and they were talking about who your heroes were. And I didn't prompt this conversation. The teacher kind of mentioned it, and they pulled his coattail, and he was like, he's my inspiration, because he was like, he cares, and you could tell he's interested, and he took an investment in me, and little things like that. And I've had a lot of instances like that where I felt like I made that kind of impact, and people did that same thing for me. Nice. So, maybe it's a purpose thing, but the greater goal is just to give back and, to be the best version of self. And I think it starts with mental health.
Thanks, Darnell. Same question. Introduce yourself. What do you do? What got you into mental health? How are you impacting the community in that field?
Darnell Dora, I'm a founder of Forum NYC, a nonprofit organization that provides co-learning programs and events to build skills, self-awareness, community, and accountability in order to encourage a healthier, positive outlook on masculinity. As far as getting into the mental health work of things, I've just always considered myself an advocate once I experienced a mental health dilemma. Like, I battled with depression, and I didn't even know what was happening to me. And if I feel, and I feel very self-aware, I feel like I'm very self-aware. The problem is when you feel like you're very self-aware, you kind of doubt what is happening to you. You're not really paying attention because you think this can't happen to you. I'm very in tune with myself. I know myself. I'm grounded in myself. And sometimes the answers are outside of yourself. And taking that mental inventory during that time and speaking to the right people that help me get right and understanding that there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just not all the way right now. Particularly because we do live traumatic lives, and that first thing that snaps you, you don't necessarily know how to make yourself whole again. So traveling through that journey, and again, it's still a process daily, and I always got to check on myself regularly to make sure that I'm okay. And even if I'm telling myself that I'm okay, like, am I lying to myself? Because we do. The mind is a tricky thing. So since that bout, I've always been an advocate of mental health services, because I understand how quickly your life can spiral out of control when you don't have someone to speak to, when you don't have someone that you can talk to, when you don't trust what is happening within your mind. So that speaks a lot to a lot of the things I do is just based on my personal journey, and reaching out, reading, and finding resources. And I think the goal after that is always to share what you learned in hopes that you can make someone else's travel a little easier, if not yours, then your kids.
Okay, so thank you, fellas. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the work that you are doing in the field. I do want to share the video that tonight's discussion is based on, and then we'll get into the questions. For my audience who are there, please feel free to use the chat, drop a question. If you're not comfortable putting it out in public, you can DM the message directly to me, and I'll just ask it blanketly with no names. Let's get started.
You want to say when a man says he's tired, pay attention. Mm-hmm. Expound on that a little.
Yeah, I mean, the suicide rate amongst men, we're 3 to 4 times as likely to die by suicide than our women. 9 out of 10 people who live to be over 100 are women. Over 70% of homicides are by men in the United States. So long we tell each other, we give each other promises. Stay strong, brother. Mm-hmm. Subconsciously, that's telling us when we're weak, we're not a man. You can't stay strong. Mm-hmm. I can just put the bar, a 45-pound Olympic tell you to hold an Olympic bar out on the bench press. So I want you to hold that till tomorrow. You won't. We have to be careful of the misleading mantras that we say. What doesn't kill you can only make you stronger. That's not true. Or everything in moderation. No, less than an ounce of cyanide will kill you. So we have to be careful how we program ourselves. So when a man is tired, a strong man is tired. When I say believe him, what I mean is welcome him to rest. Allow him to decompress. You're tired, brother. What do you need from me? I don't need to ask you to do something else. You gotta understand, when you're like us community servants, no one will ever stop you from helping them. You have to stop yourself. And that's what I mean by that. So many of us, we work past fatigue, again, for that affirmation. It's hard to say no. And that's one of the greatest things I've learned to master is saying no. I can always come back to say yes, but when I say yes first, now I'm committed to something, and then I'm typically operating in frustration. And so now when a strong man tells you he's tired, believe it, and then do something about it to help him rest and recover. If not, just like an athlete, Kevin Durant, for instance, when he went back too soon after the injury, we go right back out after someone gets killed in our family. We expect life to be normal. My mother passed in 2016. I expect just to forget it and keep moving, and it still crushes my heart to this day. No, it takes time. And as brothers, we and sisters, we need to be patient and loving and understanding. And grieving is a lifelong process. Healing is a lifelong process. And as we always say, there's no point of arrival. It's a constant state of evolving, becoming better, becoming better.
So Darnell, because you popped up on my screen, I'll start with you. What are your comments and thoughts after watching that?
It's hard to not agree with him wholeheartedly. Okay. Sometimes when a man says he's tired, he's just tired. It could just be the language that we use, but I can't disagree when he says pay attention, because it can mean so much more. And I think it depends on, I was speaking to Frigi about this before we started, it depends on how you finish that thought. What is he actually tired of? What is he tired from? What is making him tired? Why is he tired? Because sometimes the fatigue could just be like, I had a long day, I'm tired. But sometimes, like, it's what he's not saying to you in that thought of, I'm tired. What am I tired from? I'm tired of holding it in. I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of being underappreciated or underpaid or overworked. I'm tired of feeling like I'm not enough. I'm tired of being strong. Those could be the ends of that statement, but what you hear is, I'm tired. It can be a lot. And sometimes we just need to ask additional questions, but there is depth to tired. And I think that's what I think his name Jason Wilson, right? I think that's what Jason Wilson was getting at in that excerpt.
Frigi, what about you?
I agree with everything Gordon just mentioned, that a person saying they're tired, there is depth to it, right? Because, one phrase could mean 1,000,001 things. So, because I could say, like we were talking about this earlier, like I use that phrase all the time. Now, does that mean I'm having some kind of like psychological breakdown? Maybe not. But for some, that could be that, right? And you don't know what that means to that person. So I think it's about, if you are hearing somebody saying that phrase, it could mean a lot of different things. And I think it is a red flag to probe a little bit further, especially if somebody just says that and you don't really know the full context of the situation. You want to learn a little bit more about that, because there's a lot of men out here that they're tired just because they're on this hamster wheel of life and they got to put so much effort out there in the world. And, men, we don't have as much of a support outlet, right? So we're running through this gauntlet without support, and we're tired just because we feel alone on this gauntlet and the weight of it is getting too heavy, right? So, I'm in hindsight, I'm just thinking about it. Like when I say I'm tired, I think it's the same thing. Do I feel like I'm composed enough to kind of keep myself together? Yes. But, Gordon mentioned this earlier about like friends, right? Kind of having that groups. I think one of the biggest issues we have as Black men is we don't get together. We don't talk to one another. We don't have that support network. We don't have, when we have troubles and difficulties, we're not talking to people about it. So, when you were talking about your story about how you were talking with your friends about it, and they would be like, oh, you going through that too? You going through that too? That type of stuff is so, it could be a great weight lifted off of you. So far too often, I feel like if and I can't speak to what exactly somebody's meaning when they say they're tired, because it could mean a lot of things, but especially for Black men, I feel like we don't necessarily have support, and we haven't been cultured to kind of communicate and express ourselves with our peers to kind of help with that healing process of the stresses of just being a Black male, right? If we just talking just about Black men.
All right, Fiji, since you jumped the gun and went on to question number 2.
I did.
Kind of, sort of. But are Black men allowed to be tired in society?
You see, now that's loaded, right?
That's why I have you.
What makes that so loaded is because everybody should have the benefit to feel tired and let go, but we Black men are at the bottom. We can feel, and I'm going to use that operative term, we feel like we're at the bottom of the totem pole, and we chasing to get up to a place where there's so little of us that we're fighting for this kind of position. So when we want it bad enough, and men, we want to be providers, we want to kind of prove or go above and beyond the odds and beat expectations. And because of these type of things, there's this pressure to feel like I got to keep chasing the next thing. And that in itself kind of almost doesn't lend you a space to feel tired, right? Because if I feel tired, what could be the outcome of that, right? Who's going to hold me? Who's going to support me? We don't necessarily have those networks and that friend circle and that network of people to kind of talk to about these things. We lack that. And because of that, we feel like there is no space to be tired because we got to keep going. We're still striving for the next thing. And so, like I said, so everybody should be entitled to feel tired, but do we have, when you're working towards something, it's almost like no days off. So, but that could be a figment of our imagination.
So Darnell, what about you? As a Black man, do you feel like you have permission to be tired, even if you're chasing a goal or whatever?
I mean, permission, I guess that would require someone to grant me permission, right? Mm-hmm. And that permission would be, I would have to grant myself that permission. Yeah. But that's not really what we are trained to do. We're just not. It's like what Frida was saying. We're taught Mamba mentality. You gotta go till you can't go no more. You gotta die. Kobe Bryant walked to the free throw line with a torn Achilles. This is what they want you to see, and they're like, "That's a man." And I'm like, "How? We can't keep that as the measuring stick." So allowed by who's, everyone go hard, go harder. You gotta go hard. You gotta go hard. You gotta go harder. And the funny thing, Fiji said that we're on the bottom of the totem pole, right? But it sometimes doesn't feel that way when it comes to expectations, because a lot is expected of a Black man, a lot. Because and me and Fiji were having this conversation earlier. If you don't meet those expectations, we fail differently. Our fail is different. So because our fail is different, my fail is incarceration, my fail is jail, my fail is I am murdered. That's my fail. I don't have someone who has built the infrastructure to save me from any of that. So the pressures I feel are very real. And the expectation of feeling like you can't take a day off because every relationship we have is a conditional one. Everyone is expecting something from me almost all the time. And if I can't deliver, what good am I to them? So it makes you question your self-worth if you can't. So everything means something. Every test, every police siren, every argument, every presentation, every day at work, everything you do. And that's a lot. how can I feel like I'm supposed to take a day off? And then when I do take that day off, if I'm allowed to be tired and I take that day off, nobody did my work. I just got more work to do.
The next day, right?
The next day, I took one day off, and now look, more work. Nobody's clearing my desk for me. Nobody's clearing my desk. I don't, you know what I mean? So it's not like we're not allowed to be tired or we're not given permission to rest, but that permission would have to come from ourselves. And sometimes it takes learning to get there, learning to rest. But we aren't taught that at a young age. And if you are taught that at a young age to rest, you look lazy. Look at you, lazy around everybody who's grinding. Look at you. You're not hustling. Look at you. You're not going to get it. Look at you.
Okay, I just want to say something to that, right? Because you just made a good point. Yet, and this is culture, right? Because where we come from, so I come from poverty. I come from, whatever. So I come from certain type of circumstances. So I had so much fun when I was younger, right? The fun happened. And then we get to a certain point where life slaps us in the back of the head. And it's like, you got to get money, you got to have a family, you got to need a roof over you need certain types of things. And because of the lack of conditioning, the lack of structure and culture, now I'm out here trying to figure all that out. And, and we were talking about this also, that's a mental energy, right? So I'm mentally, emotionally just trying to figure it all out. I also don't have a support network to kind of springboard ideas off of or really build with to let me understand or flesh out ideas or see if I'm thinking about things too catastrophic and then I have to actually do the action and the work. So that in itself makes the molehill look like a mountain that we can't climb. So, but again, this is all perception, right? This is just all what we feel. It's all right. It's all in our mind. Is it actually true? And that's I think where the world is shifting in. And I think that's where he's talking about. It's kind of like giving yourself that kind of grace to be like, it's okay, right? You could take a break. Yet, at the end of the day, we still got to get up and move. So if we've been through enough life circumstances where it's like I took a break, but then I still have to get up and I still have to kind of move and hustle and bustle to get to the next place, it just feels like you can't take a break or you don't have permission to take a break, because I might have kicked around and played around for so long that I'm like, I did that already. I got to kind of stick my head in the ground and go. But I do think we got to give ourselves that kind of space. But it's a conditioning thing that we are getting to. I feel like there's a collective consciousness being raised. I think even the concept of form and having that group that you're doing, that's doing the same stuff, is kind of building that community. These type of groups, they're building that, but it's a process, right? It's a life journey. We are on the way, but as a Black man, there's a lot of work that we still got to do.
Okay. Darnell, so let's talk about form, as Friji mentioned it. You said you create different events, like go more into that organization and what it is that you're proposing or setting up for men around your community.
All right, so thank you for that, because I don't often get the chance to really talk about it, because 2022 is supposed to be a big year for my organization.
Nice.
The first major event that I had planned was a documentary and a Father's Day event called My Brother the Father, where I'll be evaluating certain different men in different demographics and different relationships, relationship to their children, as we tackle some questions about fatherhood. Most of them are Black fathers, some mixed race, but different circumstance, some divorced, some with the mother of their children, some single fathers. And I thought it was a real important thing, because oftentimes we don't value fatherhood until we are fathers. And me, someone with still no children, I found myself buying lunch for one of the members of my team, because he's a father. And I said, let me get you breakfast on a Father's Day, because I work in a hospital, and they do all this stuff for mothers, nurses week, it's
Hey, don't talk about nurses now, but go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that this is what gets done. But there are male nurses, and when it's Father's Day, there's nothing for you. There's nothing. And you know, it's hard to look forward to something that is going to be such a big step in your life. If you were ever to want to take that step and become a father, because it's not celebrated until the day you become one. Women, for the majority of their lives, a lot of women are taught that one day you will be a mother. They're having that conversation at ages so young, and no one will ever be prepared for parenthood for real. Not really. But the way some men are deathly afraid of this, it's because we don't think about it enough. Because we're too busy thinking about all these other things that Reggie was talking about. Where does fatherhood come in that conversation? So I wanted to come up with a situation or a day and an event to help celebrate fathers in a documentary to showcase what different fathers look like, what it looks like today, in a way that we can help bridge that bond and help men with no children celebrate men with children, because we need to look at that like one day that'll be me. And for Father's Day to feel important, it has to start with men, and it has to start with men who aren't fathers. So that was a thing that was real dear to me. But the other events that I have going through that year, I just submitted a proposal to the Department of Education to try to get a program into the public schools called My Brother is Calling, where we'll go in, we'll mentor young men. It's structured as like a 12-session program. We'll have different lessons planned. What is masculinity, hyper masculinity, and hip hop, different conversations that will be structured in terms to give them some educational benefit, but also there'll be certifications that they earn throughout that: stop the bleed training, mental health first aid, CPR, to just get them more well-rounded, but also grooming lessons and events. And it'll culminate in a little ceremony where, you know, little young men can get dressed up and understand what it is. But it's also a mentor program, a chance to connect young men with other men who are doing great things. And then the events in between, the little activations I hope to host, will just be healing spaces for Black men. And what I mean by that is sometimes it's very hard for us to feel comfortable in spaces we're not comfortable in as Black men. I'm not just gonna come in here and turn up the whole place if that's not my personality. I don't know everybody here. I don't trust everybody here. It takes us time to open up, and sometimes it takes us conversation to open up, and sometimes it takes us a vibe to open up. So there's a night I want to have planned, probably first quarter of the year, where we'll meet at a cigar bar, we'll play blues, and we'll have a conversation. Because sometimes men need distractions before we can get to the meat of things. And I understand that. Sometimes, like, the panels are great, but not all men feel heard or comfortable or are willing to open up into those spaces. You know, it takes a real bold person to stand up in the middle and say, listen, I'm going through something I don't want to talk about. But a lot of men don't really want to do that. So you got to find different ways for men to open up. And that's going to be my first quarter activation. I'm hosting probably a holiday party in December to fundraise. But yeah, I'm excited about all the things we got going on and for 2022.
Nah, that sounds so dope. Like, hold on, I'm just trying to let people in as you speak. But you did mention something I do want to go into, in the whole topic of fatherhood. And I want to ask, how does a man's relationship with his father affect how he deals with his emotions?
Is that for me or Freezy? I think
you or Freezy, whoever wants to jump on it, up to y'all. Opened up.
You segued into it lovely. I mean,
you did.
Got a perspective.
So. I think it sets precedence. Whether the precedence is good or bad or because of his absence, I think a lot of men have circled back and realized the damage done. By the time you're mature enough to realize the damage done, you know, it might be past the point of repair. And I think that's what a whole generation of Black men went through with their fathers, or a large portion of a generation went through with Black fathers. And I think right now we see more engaged Black fathers, and I want to promote that. I want to shout out all the Black fathers that's doing great work, because I don't have a single friend who's a deadbeat Black father. They are all amazing fathers.
Beautiful.
Complicated men, amazing fathers. And, you know, the two things can be true at the same time. And hopefully one day that'll be false. Maybe one day you will need to be a good man and be a good father at the same time, or you'll need to be a good man to be a good father. But we're not there yet. It's one step at a time in our healing process. And I think we got there because later on we realized, or the generation prior realized, that they were setting us up to fail, and not taking part in the education of their sons' emotional intelligence, because that leads us to end up the same place where you are, repeating this cycle of destruction. Whether it's, you know, whether it's due to the same vices or not, it's a rocky terrain navigating this world as a man when you don't understand yourself emotionally.
Okay. Freegy, in your practice, or your 9 to 5, whichever, I'm guessing you have male clients. Like, what is the demographics in terms of men who grew up with, let's say, let's put in air quotes, good dads versus those with deadbeats or who didn't grow up with the dad? Like, how do they deal with their emotions?
So the population I work around is folks with severe mental illness. So we talking about a lot of people with really strained relationships with their parents, a lot of absentee father families. And I think it has a really negative impact on young men, especially those that I know that, you know, that speak about their experiences, because, you know, the father creates a safety net in the house, and a lot of them feel like they've been through traumatic experience because of the lack of that safety net being there. A lot of them, there's that role model figure, and it might create some resentment and some tension, right? So when, you know, Gordon was talking about that trust issue, I feel like a lot of them have trust issues because of, you know, these disorganized families, and, you know, it makes it kind of difficult for a lot of those men. But you know, that not having a father in the household, the father, you know, the parents are the first role models, right, to a child. So good, bad, or indifferent, right? They are the first role models. And when there's an absentee parent, you know, for whatever reason, because there's multiple reasons why maybe that could be happening, but for whatever reason, when there's an absentee parent, it causes a void in a person's life. So, you know, and that can manifest in some other issues, especially if not resolved, if not fully understood. It could translate into a lot of different symptomology that different people go through. So it's you know, it's a big issue, right, for a lot of the clients that I work with. And it's you know, it's something that they're working through. So a lot of the men, they come to me and they tell me about things that they've been through, and they've never even sat with a male of color, especially my clients that are people of color, right? Never sat with a male of color and talked about their issues. And they find that very, very healing, just that kind of communion, to be talking about, you know, the things that they've been through with somebody that is not going to judge them, right? I can't tell you I've been through exactly what you've been through, but I'm not going to judge you. I'm here to support you, and I'm here to help you process and figure out what's kind of going on. So it's a journey. It doesn't mean that they're gonna, just because they meeting with the guy, is going, things will be fixed. But you know, there's so many, there's a lot of challenges that have kind of arisen because of the lack of that parental figure.
Okay, so part B to that question, do you feel it's different for those raised by mostly females or single mothers? How they express or show their emotion, or how they deal with emotions in relationships?
I mean, so a woman doesn't know how to be a man, right? So she's playing two roles, especially if there isn't a father figure there. If we don't have at least some support, right? Because it doesn't have to, just because the father's not in the home, that doesn't mean there's not male representation. Could be an uncle, could be a friend, a teacher, someone else. But I think if mom is not trying to really get some male representation around that young person, it can be very challenging, right? And I don't know what those relationships are, right? Because maybe a woman has real strained relationships with men, and she may be projecting certain things that a child sees and feels, and that can translate into some other things. But a woman doesn't know how to be a man, right? Even if she tries and she thinks she's doing certain things, she's just not. And just a child will just know that instinctively. They will know, even if she's disciplining and she's just trying to instill certain kind of values, she just can't be that, right? And a young boy will look for that somewhere, right? So if that's in the music role models, people he's seeing in the community, that's just what it is. And I think it's important for a mom to understand that and make sure there's that kind of male guidance, male leadership, somebody to provide that kind of those characteristics, those values to help kind of support that young man. So, yeah.
Okay, Darnell, same question. What are your thoughts on it?
Freezy kind of ate that up. He ain't lead
I know. Yeah, I keep saying I'm gonna leave Freezy for last. I gotta work on it.
He was just really so thorough with that answer. As I'm listening, I'm like, man, is he gonna leave me anything? Nope, that too. Nope, said that too. All I'll say is, I think sometimes we not this parents are your first examples of anything, but this society has been in existence for a long time, and the evils of it is presently destructed. They get relayed by both men and women, so I think like some people, it's just gonna be a hard person to save in that regard, if you want to look at it that way. If that person was probably going to be, I'm not going to say that somebody who fell down a wrong path, had that person had their father in their life as opposed to their mother, it would have been different. I'm not really sure, because it depends on what kind of mother that person was and what kind of father that person was. And like you said, there are so many X factors in a question like that, but it certainly does have an effect when you don't have an example of what I'm supposed to be. There are certain questions. I'm from a single parent household, and my mother can't answer that for me. She can't answer that for me. And like, and the rough part about it when it's your mother is it's your mother. Can you really even believe her? Does she love you? Is she gonna even be that honest with me if I ask you a certain question and I'm asking you to be 100% honest with me? Is this you just tell me just because you love me? All right, Mom. All right. You know what I mean? And there's also, like, when you're raised with just one parent, there's always going to be that juxtaposition in the back of your mind that if my father stayed, if my father was around, so now you have someone to attribute blame to. And maybe that doesn't help you become more accountable either. So again, it depends on a myriad of X factors, but it certainly does have an effect.
Okay.
I just want to say that, and I may be unique, and I don't know how many people out here, but I grew up with just my father. My mother was not, my mother passed away when I was really, really young. And my father, I had a lot of female role models, but my father was a consistent person. So that dynamic, that's an interesting conversation that because my lens is a little different, because my dad was there, even though I feel like he was absentee in his own ways. Right? But he was physically there, and I knew him, and he was the parent that I knew.
I know my father. We talk all the time. We have a good relationship, but not in the household, not immediately. And so at that time, Black, West End, Haitian father, he was a certain kind of way, boy. Right. So like, he wasn't around, he's not around. He's not, he's not here for it, and I'm probably not going to get that emotional attention I need. Damn, nobody got time for that.
So that's so true. So true. Like that emotional. It's not the Haitian male elder is not the most emotionally available.
Wait, let's not just pinpoint Haitians. It's not just Haitians.
Yeah,
thank you very much. I mean, I know y'all Haitians.
Speaking from my position.
I'm speaking from my position. That's what I'm saying. It just so happens.
Right.
All right. So Chris, you made a comment in the chat. I don't know if you're able to come off mute or come on camera and actually speak about what you were saying. I don't want to just
Oh, can you hear me?
There you go. Yes.
Yeah, I'm on mute. Yeah. Go ahead. You were saying something, Sam?
No, I was saying you put a comment in the chat. If you could just speak out loud what you were trying to say.
Oh no. Like I said, I guess I could kind of rephrase what I said. Or go back to it. With the caveat, I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm actually a mental health patient. Like I have therapy every week. And go through all that stuff from OCD and stuff like that. So I actually am a patient. So I kind of have over the years enlightened myself on mental health issues across the whole spectrum. Because I've been in day programs, therapy groups with people who got all kinds of stuff. So, old people who got bipolar, depression, suicidal people, schizophrenic. So I kind of like to make myself aware of what's going on. But the thing about fathers to me, and I think it's more so a personal thing, is that I'm Haitian. So the whole thing about Haitian fathers being, even though they're present, it can be not present. I went through that. My father was present, and he grew up the way he grew up in Haiti, because we're Haitian immigrants. He's an immigrant. I was born in Haiti. I used to live in Haiti. The way they grew up is that being a father is just a provider. Hey, Dad, I need some money. You got it. The bills gotta get paid. I'm gonna pay the bills. The emotional aspect and the nurturing aspect never happened. Never. My father never told me he loved me till I told him. I was in college and I told him I loved him. But before that, he had never said it a day in his life. Right? It was just I put the roof over your head. You got clothes. I take you to school. What else do you want? Like, nothing else for me to give you. Like, what do you want from me? But like I said, for me, I think the whole thing about the cycle and for people that don't have fathers, they repeat the cycle and they end up leaving. I think it's an easy cop out. I think it's really an easy excuse, a built-in excuse for someone to not be a father. For me, I know plenty of people personally who didn't grow up with their father, relatives, children of my aunts, cousins from aunts who didn't have their fathers. My best friend didn't grow up with his father. And these are all men who are excellent fathers. And me myself, even though my father was around, we don't have the best relationship, but I'm a doting dad. I tell my son I love him every day. I give him everything he wants. If you, I think so. How many follows me on social media? You'll see him on my social media. Like, so for me, I just hate when you have this whole thing of, well, my father wasn't there, so I didn't have no. I really think it's BS. I think it's an easy cop out. You can learn. You can learn, especially this day. You can learn how to be a father, but you could try because you're really never ready. Just it's trial and error. Just be there and try to be a father. And then we look to get simple answers to complicated things. A lot of times, single mothers and absentee fathers come from environments steeped in poverty and drug use. So it's not just about a matter of a father just getting up and leaving. You're looking at who are more likely to be absentee fathers, who are more likely to be single mothers, young, unmarried, people of color in poverty. So we just focus on what a father's not there, how to be a better father. Well, the environment creates bad fathers and creates absentee fathers. So we have to start there before we just start saying, you'll be a good dad. But if I don't have a job, I'm on drugs, I got some kind of trauma I never dealt with, the culture around me is toxic, how am I going to be a good father? So it's always, no matter where in life, you want a simple, direct answer, whether it be in government, religion, whatever, give it to me straight. But it's complicated. And I just don't like my father wasn't there, so I'm not there, that's it, boom, end of story. I hate that.
Okay.
That's all.
That's all. Thanks for sharing, Chris. Darnell, actually, I'd like you to piggyback off of that because, like you said, your dad wasn't immediate for you, even though you have a relationship, but yet here you are starting this whole organization that's teaching men how to be quote unquote good fathers or show that representation.
Yeah, I can't teach a guy how to be a good father. It's and the beauty of it is it's all co-learning. It's all co-learning because I don't think any man has the answer. I think we're all trying to figure it out together. I think we all would like to sit down because we all got different parts of we all got a puzzle piece that play a bigger role in what is a complete man. And we all need to put that together where we stand and define it for ourselves. We could only hope to one day be proud of ourselves introspectively, to reach a level of being content with oneself, but gotta be the highest level at a certain point if you ever get there, because we will always be chasing more. But else, what are we here for? You know, but going back to the conversation of being of having a father, and my father did the best he could, and I understand that, and I know that, but it took me a long time to get there and forgive him for that. Not to say he needed the forgiveness, but if it was something that I would have refused to move past, I wouldn't be here today trying to do better. I would have used that, just like Chris said, as a crutch for why I can't. Because I don't know is what I would have said. I don't know. And you know what I'm supposed to tell my son when he's here? I don't know. That's not, you know, that answer didn't work for me. That answer don't work for me when I give it to myself. So how could I turn around and then try to give it to him? Nah, I need to do better. It starts with me first, and there are certain things that I need to correct in my life first before I can go ahead and tell myself that I can be what you know, whatever my future progeny would need. But I will say this. I agree, Chris. I don't think it's an acceptable excuse anymore. The same way years ago, I didn't think women saying I don't need a man because my mother didn't need a man was an acceptable excuse. That sounds stupid. It sounds stupid. And I hope that women would look at a man who says, yeah, I ain't have a dad, he not gonna need a dad. That sounds stupid. Is everything okay with you? Nah. Why would you want to subject someone to that same kind of learning? Why would you want to give somebody that uphill battle, especially someone that you are hoping to push ahead in life? That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, Kofi, you wanted to make a comment? I don't know if you can come off mute right now. There you go. Let him get his things together.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to I think Frigid and Gordon. I think you guys are doing a wonderful job.
His name is Darnell, guys. He goes
Darnell, okay.
Darnell, yeah.
Hey, man,
I've been saying Gordon too. I'm sorry, Darnell, my bad.
It's his handle. It's his IG handle.
I love it. You could call me anything I've ever gotten a check for, man.
Hey guys, congratulations. I think you guys are doing a very, very wonderful job. So I think talking about fatherhood, this is one thing that I like to say. So with fatherhood, just like everything else, how do you become something that you've never even seen before, right? How do you even become, how do you even think of something, or how do you even think of becoming something that you've never even witnessed before, right? So like you've been saying, see, like the instances that you gave with your father, right? These are things that if you have an absentee father, what happens is that a trauma, you have some form of trauma, whether you want to accept it or not, right? And for you to be able to go past it, because let's say if your father were around, whether he was absent, whether like, you know, he could be present and not necessarily be there emotionally, but the fact that he was in the house alone gives you at least something to look up to, right? Now, say he wasn't there, as opposed to if he was there, if you were to go, if like, you know, it would be much more easier if he were there for you to be able to at least pick off some little things from him. So now instead of you starting from maybe a 5, you'll be starting from like a 2, right? So these are things that I think as Black men, we should try to do, at least be that role models for our kids. Because the thing is, this kids don't go by what you say, it's by what you do, right? So I feel like as time goes on, as we play these role models, the next generation, and as we're being there for them emotionally and all that, the next generation at least could piggyback on these little things that we've been doing. And then like, you know, at least that generation would have something to hold together. Because let's face it, the basic unit of society, or even in our community, is the family, right? And if the fathers are there, right? Because studies have shown that fathers in the household goes a long way in how kids turn out. So that's something I just wanted to applaud you guys for the wonderful work that you do. I just wanted to tell you that, because the programs that you intend on having, trust me, keep me in mind, shoot me, I'll be there. Okay.
All right, thanks, Kofi. Well,
Mhm.
look at that, getting y'all flowers before y'all die. Beautiful. Valerie, I don't know if you're able to come off mute, or I don't know if your camera's off, but you're writing, yes, men provide the structure. Usually our women don't get to talk. I don't think women spoke on the last one. Are you able to talk, Valerie? Let's put gallery view. All right, Val can't talk right now. Woo. All right, so let me move on to my next question. Kofi, you're done? I didn't want to cut you off for nothing. You're good. Okay, great. So I want to move back to the whole emotion part. Now that we've spoken about fathers and what they mean to either be there or not be there. We asked this question at the last event, was, do men cry? And y'all kind of laugh like, ha ha ha, but do you cry? When's the last time, Freegie and Darnell, when's the last time you cried that didn't have to do with death?
So I could just jump in there. So yeah, this is now you trying to go in the personal world. So personally, I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think personally. Let me say something. I have tears. I have moments that I tear when I accomplish things, right? Okay. When I accomplish certain types of things, or I've not overcome, but I've met a goal and I'm heading in another place.
No, not those tears. Those are not the tears we're talking about, though. I feel like those have actually become more. I'm talking about pain, like emotion,
So that's not my. I'm the type of person that reframes things, right? I don't look at, because loss is taboo. Critical periods are taboo. Transition, change, loss, all of these things are critical periods. These things are taboo. We don't think about it. I often use that as fuel. So I know change is a constant. I'm preparing for change. There's nothing that's a constant outside of change. So things will change, right? And when things change, there's loss in that, right? So I can't tell you, when I experience things, for me, I take it as a learning experience, right? So even though I will feel and I allow myself to feel, I still reframe it as fuel of some sort, right? Maybe it grounds me when things happen. It makes me understand the humanity of life, right? And I get in tune with that, I feel, but I like to repurpose pain as opportunities for growth or opportunities to learn. So, and maybe that's how I've conditioned myself, because you know what I will say, in all my experiences, when I've experienced loss and I cried in those moments of loss, I realized that I couldn't change anything, right? Because those moments of loss where it was sad and I cried, you try to sit with that and you're like, you want something to happen differently. You realize nothing is going to change. Like life is going to continue moving further. So at an early age, I learned to interpret a loss as something that I couldn't control. So what do I do with things that I can't control? I have to repurpose it to my benefit, right? So, and then maybe that's how I condition myself or psych myself out and try to get through things. So when painful moments happen, I allow myself to feel, but do I go to expressions of tears? Not necessarily, unless it's, certain, I can't even think of things that were that painful, because maybe I don't even allow things to get that close to me to feel that kind of level of pain, right? And I've set myself up in a certain way where I don't know. It's hard for me to feel that kind of level of pain. Did I answer that? I'm just wondering. I don't know what you're looking for in terms of me saying.
You don't cry. That's what you said. You don't cry.
I'm not saying I don't cry. But I don't.
Joy.
Right. I don't tear. I don't necessarily. I haven't had that kind of experience. And I think outside of the physical, because I think it's two ways people will cry. The physical loss, like you lost somebody, they're no longer here. That's one. But then there's the other pain of like, I lost my dreams, or like I've given up on myself. Those type of things where you don't dream anymore, or you kind of feel like you're a disappointment, or, there's that world of loss. And I feel a lot of men go through that. And, you know, fortunately enough, I've kind of set myself up in a foundation where I don't feel those type of things. Now, I'm not exempt from that, right? I'm not exempt from any kind of loss in that kind of manner, but I think I've been working on fortifying myself. So I just find it really difficult to catch those kind of moments outside of tears of joy. So I'm happy with life the way it is. I accept things for what they are, and I repurpose it to kind of fuel me to get to the next place.
Okay, so you just made me like go into like quick therapy mode, because I'm like, what do you mean you, from a young age, you've taught yourself to reframe things? Like, why do you have to reframe a situation? Why can't you just feel what it is and react in response? Like women, well, I wasn't taught when I was growing up, like, oh, if you hurt yourself, think about it, and then like, you know, don't cry about it, but just think of how you can do better the next time. So you're skipping over a whole grieving process so you can reframe and see what may happen or what could happen differently next time.
So, like I said, so loss, right? Loss, like somebody actually dying, those things you feel differently. Now, I don't know what's the other experiences of pain that you're referring to that would make me get to a place of tearing. I'm married. But I've been married for years. I've been in a committed relationship for many years.
Did you cry at your wedding?
I mean, so you all like cry.
But that's
like,
a joy though. But to me, that's a joy. I
Yeah.
said I've cried when I've reached certain things. When I bought a house, when I bought another house, when I started a business, when I accomplished certain, like I've teared at where my life is going. Okay. Right. But you talked about pain. You kind of made a reference to like the pain, tears in a different way. And I find it hard to catch those moments. Okay. But when hard things happen, like when hard things happen, like, I can't even think about certain things, but let's just say I lost a friend, right? Because I've lost friends, right? A friend that something happened and we're no longer connected the same way, right? I did everything that I could, right? I accepted, I feel hurt, but am I tearing? I just don't, that's not the expression that I go to, right? Okay. So you could therapy me some more if you want, but I don't. I'm trying to.
I'm not therapy. I'm not psychoanalyzing no more.
You could. I don't mind. Nothing wrong with that.
All right, now we got to go to Mr. Gordon, as everybody's calling you now. So, what about you?
Oh man, you said outside of a death. The last time I don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah. And it's honestly almost the opposite of Frigi. Like I've never cried tears of joy. When I'm happy, I'm just happy. I'm probably just smiling. I'll probably have to fake cry at my wedding or something.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Hope your girl's not on this.
No, she's not here today, but no, and I've already had this conversation with her. I could, I'll pull a tear out. I hope I can generate one naturally, but I'm gonna make sure I got one for the crowd one way or the next. Ain't gonna deny her. She gonna have the makeup on. I gotta do it, right? But for me, it's more so I would quicker tear up when I'm angry. Mm-hmm. When I am angry, it takes me a lot to get it all back inside, and I will feel my eyes filling up, and I will feel my body fighting to not let a single tear drop. And I don't know, I've conditioned myself this way, but I mean, I would much rather that than what it used to be. When you're a much more angrier person, mm-hmm. It might be yelling, it might be, striking inanimate objects. And, those were different expressions of pain and anger. And now if I just kind of bubble up, but then simmer down, this is great. This is a large improvement for me. I don't gotta go to work with my hands bloody because I wanted to feel tough against a wall. That's stupid. You know what I mean? Like, you're never gonna win a fight with an inanimate object. And I told myself this, like the last time I hit something and my hand was all bloodied up for work, like 5 days in a row, you gotta deal with people asking you questions. I said, stop trying to win fights against inanimate objects. You're always gonna lose. And I've never hit anything else again. Like, I just, but I will bubble up if the frustration gets there. But as far as like tears of sadness. Nah, and part of that I feel like is because if it takes such a great force to make me cry when I'm sad, I can't just use it, like, you know how sad I have to be. Like, and when it goes, if somebody passes that was close to me, it goes for a long time. And I realize that now, and that's part of my growth, is understanding who I am today and where I've come from. But I used to be a lot more emotionally detached. And I started working in healthcare, and I first started working in intensive care units.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of death I would see. Now I work in the emergency department, so it's even more death. I see death every day, and I don't mourn it because it's business as usual. This is just business. This is just business. But when someone close to me goes, it's like I feel every single one. It's like they all come. It's like I feel like death been following me for months, and now this is how close he's gotten. And it's dark for me, and it's painful, and it hurts. And I know that, and I know that I can't. I'm honest enough with myself and the things that I feel. And like I said, the last time it spiraled me into a depression, thinking I was gonna be okay as fast as I thought I could be okay, and trying to expedite being okay might be the worst thing a Black man could do. So, you know, I figure out a way to deal. And like I said, if the bubble up and then the simmer down is what works for me now, I'm cool with it, man. I'll feel my eyes tearing up, and I'm like, I know it ain't gonna come, but you know.
Okay. All right, thanks. This will be like the last question.
Cry. It's an inner cry.
But can I ask? I want to ask, because that's the second time you asked that question. When that question is posed, like, why don't men cry? And we're not talking about loss, right?
Yeah.
Like death. What are we talking about? Why, when we say cry, what are we referencing?
Well,
what are things that people should be crying over?
Well, I just use that because that's the one that's generally used. Like, men don't cry. Like, not necessarily. It doesn't. When you said you cry out of happiness and joy, like, that's good too. I don't think I've seen men cry out of joy or happiness, so it's great to hear. But again, it's always, I think, just to let other men who are on here, or those who might rewatch this on my website, to see, like, okay, it's okay that I cry because, you know, my son graduated, or, you know, I hug him and I'm crying at a wedding. Like, it's okay to do these things. There are men who look like me that do these things. So yeah, when I pose that question, it's not that I don't think you cry.
So I want to say, whenever I see graduations for little kids, that's like, that would make me tear up. Or if I go to church, like a church, you know, there's gospels in the building, right? And it's talking about overcoming so much, because I feel like I've done certain types of things that will make me tear up. Now, I don't feel like it's wallowing. It's more like, again, the tears of joy stuff. And that's just being proud, right? Proud of the kids that I see graduating, right? Proud of things that I've overcome. Even like it's the idea, like what Gordon Darnell's his whole forum 2022, like that stuff is like, it's amazing, right? Like that, there's like there's the soul is crying for that, because the world needs it, right? It's such a need. So I just don't, you know, outside of like loss, I feel like, if you know, unless you're going through a lot of tragedy, right? I feel like it's hard to find moments like that, especially if you're like, you know, you're fighting to overcome a lot of, you know, obstacles. I just don't know what are those reasons.
Okay, so this will be like a final question, because while I was researching for this event, I found an article that basically said suicide amongst young Black men has jumped like crazy. Why do you feel, this will mainly be for you, Friji, but Darnell, of course, you too, if you experience it while you're in the hospital, but why do you feel more Black men are using suicide as a way out?
It's that loneliness, right? That isolation, right? A lot of you know, men don't know how to express themselves. They're going through a lot, and they're not, they don't have any outlets, right? They don't have outlets. They don't have examples. They're not connecting. There's a lot of trust. So there's a lot of hurt going on within. So if a person gets to the brink of wanting to commit suicide, it's like the last they've gotten to a point of desperation. So, and I think with Black men, I think friendship, we lack that, right? A man will go out to try to seek to find women and go be with tons of women, but do they go seek out quality male friendships? And that's work. It takes work to do that, because you might go around and you meet some guys, you're like, nah, and then I don't want to talk to men. I don't talk to anybody anymore. But then if you get to spaces where you meet men of quality that you share things with, that stuff can open up such a world. And I feel like when I hear men getting to that space, they feel alone, right? They don't feel like they have anywhere to go. They don't have any places to go to. So, that's why I said the thing that Darnell's doing is like beautiful. We need that. So I feel like it's a lot about isolation. It's a lot about loneliness, and having a space to share what we've been through in a judgment-free zone. All right. I feel like it's lacking.
Okay. Darnell, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's also just the pressure. I think a lot of these men are probably living with something that they've never told somebody. They might be living with a secret that only they know, and it's probably eating them from the inside out. I know one person who took his own life, who I was close with, and there were rumors and conversation, but when they're gone, it's all speculation. I think the tougher ones that I've experienced and have familiarity with, not that I experienced it, but I have familiarity with, are the suicides that don't work. Mm-hmm. The guy who jumps in front of the train, but he doesn't die. The guy who jumps out of the building, but he lives. And I have limited familiarity with those. And I remember the hardest part for me is you got to watch the loved ones visit them in the hospital and wonder why. And not only the look on the family's face, but the look on their face when, and the ambivalence of it. Like, I felt so much pain that I wanted to take my own life and I couldn't even do it. And it's a hard face to describe. It's a hard feeling to describe. I can't even understand it. Just looking at it, and it's a conversation when nobody says anything. Mother busts in tears, kid in the bed busts into tears. And it's sad. And he's probably paralyzed or had both limbs amputated. And, it's sad, but it tells you how serious it is. Like, what were you trying to escape? And, I don't know. I don't even know if they know, but I know that feeling must have been very real for you in that moment. And I hope it's something I never feel.
Thank you, Darnell. Hold on. Chris, culturally, we're more social. Elephant in the room, COVID. We were on lockdown. I remember growing up and it was all about hanging with your boys at the park, bowling, movies. That's all gone. I mean, before COVID, I feel like that was all gone. No? Like that whole camaraderie. Yeah.
And I feel like, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I feel like one of the things, and I had this conversation, this is how I came back around with understanding why I wanted to frame the events of form like this, is women do a lot together. Women do all sorts of things together. Women have brunch together. Women have stupid parties that they do.
Wow, stupid though? Wow.
I'm just saying, stupid themed parties. I don't know, Tupperware party, what? Sex toy party, what? This party, what? Everything is a party. Everything is like girls' night out. Everything is like, yeah, we're going dancing. You ain't never heard of Bukabai say we're going dancing. When I told my girlfriend that, she laughed just as much as you laughing right now. What would you think we are doing? Me and my boys going dancing on Friday.
I'm just thinking what?
Nah. Yeah, what? No, that means you going out. That means you going out to chase women. So really, to me, the crux of the issue is we need men's spaces that are not women-centered. Because every time we go out, we kind of make it about women. So what happens is we reach a certain age where, you know, he's like, oh, we stop chilling together. We stop, because that became dangerous. I am a married man now and chilling with y'all all the time. Our family in jeopardy. So we need safe spaces.
You know what's so horrible?
Safe when we chill. Tell me it's gonna be safe.
You know what's so horrible about that? I just want to add to that the fact, because I got, you know, I'm married, you know, I got other homies, and I hear that. So I try to make sure I go out individually, go out with one or two people who I can find. But a lot of my homeboys that's in committed relationships, it's like I can't go out. The girlfriend's gonna be upset. She's gonna be this. And, you know, maybe the guys are choosing to go to the nightclub and you got to choose to go into different avenues. But, you know, you're right. It's almost like, how do you even create that atmosphere? Hey, you call up your boy like, hey, what's up, man? What you doing tonight? You trying to go hang out? Like it could feel like a very weird dialogue, and men are not we're not cultured like that.
It's not the weirdest dialogue. It's not that.
It's not, but
you know, you typically have to have a certain relationship with this friend.
Right.
Honestly, I never turn down my friends if they invite me out for a drink, because I always assume you might want to get something off your chest, and it might be a heavier conversation, and you're disguising it under the guise of a drink. Because if I ask you, just me and you, I don't want to go to no club. That's what I'll say. I don't really want to go to the club, bro. We could just grab a drink and watch the game. And that can turn into a conversation that reveals a lot of what he's going through in his life, or why he might have felt the need to reach out to me and have a conversation. But yeah, I just think it's interesting, man. We don't really have those spaces, and then it become a little dangerous for us to go outside. And then the other part is, some of us don't want to go out no more. Going out kind of sucks sometimes. Brothers want to go out all the time, be out all night. Like, now you got the guy with the hall pass who just never been outside for 6 months, and he's just happy to be outside. He don't want to go home. I want to go home, bro. It's 11:30. The clubs is not gonna jump no more. I want to go home. I want to go home. Again, men need to know it feels safe. I want to give them a short amount of time. 7 to 9, 6 to 8, 2 hours, let's chill, and then go home. Go back to what's safe for you. I don't have no after hour spot. Ain't no after link. Ain't no after link.
Them college days long gone.
Yeah, go home, and I hope you get to work on time tomorrow, because that's what a grown man good friend is going to do. Get home, kiss your lady, and kiss your gentleman if that's what you do. You have a good night. And get to work safe tomorrow, man. It was good seeing you. I love you.
I love the thought process that Darnell has about, like, when a friend reaches out for a drink, because it's true. Like, there's been times, like, even women, I don't know about other circles, but I know me and my homegirls, like, we'll do it. Like, yo, let's go to brunch, let's grab a drink, like we have. And that's when a lot of things will come out. And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm leaving out with like smeared mascara. I'm like, I thought I was coming out here for a drink. Like, when did we get to this type of conversation? But it's real. Like, I think that's a good thought to have when somebody reaches out to you on some, like, yo, can we chill? You never know what somebody's going through. They may not say it through text. They may not say it in the group chat, but they're reaching out to you for a reason. So I think that's a good idea. So final thoughts, gentlemen, and what are some resources that you guys have for men seeking either camaraderie, a good friends group type thing, or just mental health in general?
Depends on what somebody's looking for. I'm in the mental health space. I'm thinking, and I deal with people with severe mental health challenges. So if you're going through a crisis situation, I say call NYC Wells, right? That's the number I always kind of give out per se. You could always reach out to me for individual type of things, because there's such a myriad of resources out there. I think I'm gonna promote Darnell's group. Get connected with what Darnell got going on, because that's dope. Like, you know, anybody that's creating those kind of environments and atmospheres, I think men just need to kind of get connected and connect with other men, right? So I throw myself out there, free_cypher. Reach out to me if you need resources. I got a lot of resources. You know, I can't get, it's nothing too niche specific, but just in terms of if you're going through a crisis, call NYC Wells. If you want to just reach out to me, I know people in different kind of circles doing different types of things. So I would connect folks that way. So you can reach out to me, free_cypher.
Nice. Darnell, what about you? outside of form, because we clearly all waiting for form to pop off at this point. So I
pop it off, man.
I hope you're ready.
There you go with the expectations and the pressure.
The more pressure. You can cry though. It's okay. We just spoke about it.
Nah, I tell you, I don't cry like that. Honestly, NYC Wells is the one that I think most people are tapped in with. And otherwise, like I know people who do like arts healing spaces and stuff like that. I can't find their Instagram right now, so I will have that ready and repost on my page if y'all follow the individuals I know who do like art healing stuff. If you know, if you need something a little bit different, a little more holistic. But I always encourage people to have conversations and just figure out what works for you, but don't be afraid to go see a professional. You know, and maybe that consultation with a professional will help you get to figuring out what works for you and keeps you sustainable. I know for me, when I feel overwhelmed, I will always hit my local gym, get some reps in. It's my own therapy. It keeps me right, and I'm long overdue. But yeah, I think you got to figure out what works for you and what can be sustainable for you.
Okay. For me, of course, you guys can always hit me up on awareness.com. I do private therapy and I also do medication management. For those who came on late, I'm a board certified psychiatric nurse practitioner. So whether you need to speak or whether it's to a point where we need to start looking at medication, I do both. But I am a strong supporter of Black men going to other Black men for their healing, only because, like it's been mentioned throughout this event tonight, you need that space. You need to see somebody that looks like you, that is going to be non-judgmental, that's going to be a support. But of course, that doesn't mean I take myself out the race. I'm always going to be there to support our people. So DM me. It is what it is. Like if there's something that you want to speak about, whether it be a men's topic or women's topic, hit me up. I'm always looking for new topics. Next month, I'm partnering with Tosin. For those who are at the first event, he's a couples therapist, I believe, Friji. So we'll be doing
trauma therapy. I know he does trauma therapy, but he also does relationship stuff as well.
Yeah, so we'll be doing a healthy relationship one next month, November 18th. I'll finalize the date, but yeah, so that'll be open to both men and women. And yeah, anything else that you fellas want to leave our audience off with?
I mean, I just want to say shout out to everybody, for participating, for being here. I see the comments in the chat box. Shout out to Chris with the comments and the perspective. Just shout out to y'all. Shout out to you, Sahami, for hosting these events, because it's it's a necessary evils to get men to the best possible place. So you bringing us together. So appreciate you and appreciate everybody for joining the call.
Thank you. Darnell, what about you? Any final thoughts, comment?
Yeah, Friji speak first again.
I know, Friji. We're gonna put him on mute. Like I keep forgetting.
But I'm just so honored and humbled to even be invited in here to share space with you guys, to have my opinion be measured or valued or appreciated by anyone who's listened to me. I appreciate that. Thank you again, Sohani, for having me be here. Thank you for hosting this space. Shout out to Awareness and all that. I was looking for my shirt and couldn't find it, but I've been rocking my pin at work on my suit, and everybody was like, "What's that?"
No doubt. Thanks for the support. Thank you.
Always.
All right, ladies and gents, again, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you can catch the replay if you came on a little late. It'll be on awareness.com by this weekend under mental health, quote unquote, men heal. If you have any questions or again, any concerns about mental health resources, please feel free to reach out. Everything will be up on the page, and have a good night. Get home safe if you're traveling.